Hi there, welcome to Transcoma Trailer Sales. Today I'll be walking you through your 2015 Jayco 30DS QB. We are just going to start off at the back of the unit. You've got your spare tire located back here, as well as your stair system so you can get up to your roof to check all your seals and everything. And then coming around to this side, there's going to be a bumper cap on here. This is going to be where you're typically going to want to store that sewer hose after your first use. We do have a brand new one located inside the front compartment, which is why there's not one in there yet. You got your cable satellite inlets in case you were going with that. And then you do have your standard 30 amp plug-in. Most campsites should have this and you can plug right on in, but let's say you have the unit at home and you want to run your fridge, or your campsite only has 15 amp service, which is your standard household outlet. We do include that 15 amp park adapter. Just keep it in mind, you can't run your air conditioner off that. It is just to really run your fridge and your lights. You got a storage compartment in the back here, and then you do have stabilizer jack in all four corners of this unit. The way they work is you're going to hook up your 3/4 inch drive, hook up to your 3/4 inch drive nut, run this foot down to the ground. Once the foot contacts the ground, just give it another 1/8 turn to snug it up. It's going to take any bounce or sway you see we have in the unit right now away. Additional couple notes. They are stabilizing jacks. They aren't leveling jacks. Please don't try and use them as so, otherwise you do run the risk of bending them. Same goes for running them up or down with an impact. Just keep in mind how much torque you're putting on them. And this little port here is your hot water service port. Just a few things you need to worry about. You got a 1-inch drain bolt right here, loosening that guy off, lefty-loosey with the 1-inch socket. It's going to loosen that off and allow that to come out and drain all the water out of the tank. And then whenever you get to your campsite, always make sure to just give this pressure relief valve a pull. There should be a shot of water coming out of there letting you know that the tank's full. We currently have the tank drained just because we weren't sure when you were going to use it again, so just be mindful of that. Get your sewer tank flushed, so the way that works is you got to have your black tank connected and your valve open. Reason being, if you're pushing pressure inside of that tank and the pressure's got nowhere to go, you do run the risk of bursting your tank or cracking it. So whenever you're using it, again, just making sure you have your sewer hose connected and your sewer valve open. You got your city water connection, so if you're out of site with service, you get the red garden hose in there, turn it on. It's going to pressurize all those lines without the need to run your water pump. You got your exterior shower, it just unlocks with your standard 751 key. That's going to come included with your unit. And then down below, you got your main sewer outlet. You got this cap here, taking that, twisting that off. It's going to pop out of place. Your sewer hose is going to have the same ears. They just click and lock in. And then you just have a few different valves. You got a galley tank, which is going to be just from your kitchen sink. And then you do have a gray tank, which is going to be from your bathroom, sink, shower. And then you do your black. You always empty the black first as you get your dirtiest water, and then you can go behind that with either the gray or the galley, whichever you prefer. Down below the floor, you got this little valve here, opening that guy up, allows all the water out of the fresh tank to drain. Inside here is just some more storage space. It's also where you'll find your 3/4 inch drive tool for the stabilizer jacks. And then you do have a manual override for your front tongue jack. You get your 24 RV battery located inside that box here. And then you get your 2 propane tanks underneath this front cover. Most of the time you get what you need done just by loosening off those tabs and hooking this up. But for the purpose of the video, you just put this right off on place in case you have to change over the tanks. Then you got your selector valve right here at the front on the regulator. With it pointed this way, you're going to be drawing off this tank. Counterclockwise, like any standard barbecue, to open up the flow of propane. Then let's say this tank were to go empty, so you can turn it off, undisconnect it, flip this over to the other side and start drawing off this tank. Inside here is just some more storage space. Then you do have a little light switch on the wall too, so you can see what you're doing. And then you do, in this box here, have your standard starter kit. You got a 15-foot water hose, 10-foot sewer hose, as well as that 15 amp park adapter I've already told you about, and some other miscellaneous goodies. Got your main entryway door, which I'm going to go over in a minute. Got 2 120 outlets, as well as your fresh fill. So if you're filling your fresh tank, you just got to put a garden hose in there, turn it on, it's going to fill that up. You can also siphon into it too, if that's how you were doing things. And then right down below here, you got your sorry, that's further back. fridge service port, not much you need to worry about here. And then here, that's what I was trying to show you. It's back here. Which 2 low point drains. So cracking those guys open. It's gonna try and drain as much fluid out of the lines as possible just to try and stop any water go from going stale or stagnant. Or if you're finished winterizing and just want to let some antifreeze out, it's a good idea. In this back apartment, you do have your outside kitchen area. Flipping this guy open, you can lock it into place with just a little hinge. You got a mini fridge, which does only work if you're hooked up to shore power, so keep that in mind whenever you're using it. You got your microwave. The switch inside has to be flicked to your outside microwave. I'll go over that once we get inside, and I'll show you the switch. Then you got your little exterior, stove system. Flipping that guy out, a couple grease protectors. In this compartment is where we store that hose, just disconnecting itself. Whenever you're not using it, either connecting it back into itself or putting your dust caps on is very important. Down below here, pull back on this line like any standard air hose, push it and insert that onto the quick connect spot here. Then you can run this end down below, pull your dust cap off on your quick connect line. This is plumbed right to your front propane tanks, so you don't have to bring an extra tank with you, which is quite nice. Pull back on the collar, press and insert into place, and then you got that valve. Opening up the valve opens a flow of propane. You can come up and light your stove at this point. And then to take it down, as an added safety feature, if the flow of propane is open, you can't close the valve, so you have to close the valve. Then it'll allow you to operate the coupler, and then again, just making sure you do insert those dust caps back in place. And now for probably the best part, you get to take a step on its side. First things first, you take your assist handle, push it up, holding it 90 degrees. It is going to lock into place, and it'll allow you to open up your door. Then you can take your stairs, pull them towards you, they fold down. Taking a step on inside, first thing you notice off on the left is that fire extinguisher, which is pretty much just like home, pull the pin and shoot. You got your fire extinguisher. Then you got this switch. This was the switch I was telling you about for the microwave. So right now it's for the inside microwave, just flicking the switch, and your other microwave is going to turn on. Then you can switch it back, just as simple as that. Try not to switch it too often, but when you have to, you have to. Inside here is kind of your main control center. You got your monitor panel system up top. Pushing the button gives you a corresponding tank level. And then you got your water pump switch, which draws out of your fresh tank, and then you can fire up that water heater on either gas or electric. If you go to fire it on gas, you push that button, water heater is going to try lighting itself 3 times. If on the 3rd try it doesn't light, this DSI fault light's going to come on. At that point, you do have to turn that off, give it about 30 seconds, and then try turning it back on. It could have been a purging issue. I'll go over purging issues in a few minutes once we get around to the kitchen stove. So we'll talk about that then. Then you got some different exterior lights you can turn on, as well as an awning LED, and then the other switch does do your living space lights. Awning control right up at the top, pushing and holding that out button. Awning's going to start making its way out. Once it's at its full extension, you can see the little flap hang down in the back of the metal tube. Now, unfortunately, today, just due to space, it's about all we're going to be able to go up today. But if we're to start raining, you take any arm, front or rear, pull down, pull it towards you, tighten up these knobs. Now that is changing the pitch to the awning head, allowing water to run off. Now if you like that angle better, because it does allow for more shade underneath, you can do the same thing with the front arm. Just making sure that you do, before you go to bring it in, you do release them, let them go to the capsule in natural positions, so that you don't run the risk of bending anything when you go to bring it in. Always keeping an eye on wind speed. Once the winds start picking up, you're going to want to make sure you do bring that in, as it doesn't take much to bend your arms or rip your fabric. Once the arms contact the side of the trailer, the motor's automatically cut out. Now, if you were to roll this awning out, and let's say it started raining, storming, and then you have to bring it in, just making sure that you do bring it back out at your next earliest convenience to allow it time to dry off, so you're not accelerating the growth of mold or mildew. Then last but not least, you do have your slide out switch. Pushing that allows the slide out to make its way out, and before we get to that, you just always want to make sure you do a visual check, making sure you have enough room on the other side of the slide for the slide to fully come out. And then just making sure during travel nothing shifted in between the slide and the wall. It's going to get caught and cause damage because the motors don't know when to stop. But it's as simple as pushing and holding the out button. The slide out's going to start making its way out. Once it is at its full extension, you're going to hear the motors wind up and click. And you heard those motors click, so now it's at its full extension. If you want to be really, really sure, you just take your hand, run it down here, and just making sure that this slide molding is flush with the wall, sealing out any water. Now we can take a step and just start into the bedroom since we are right here. Light switch is on its own center push button up top here. Blinds in the unit all work the same way. They just kind of sit where you leave them. Storage all around. There is going to be tons of storage around this unit. Of course, just be mindful of drains, water lines, wiring, things like that. You don't want to be affecting any of that. If you pick up at the foot of the bed, you do have another little storage space down below there just to stick any blankets or anything like that down there. That's your fire exit for the bedroom here. You're just having to take that red handle, pull it. This screen's going to pop right out of place, and then you can take your assist handle, push it out, hop on out of the unit. Just making sure you do go feet down and not head down first. Right here we got what's called a flipper TV system. You can spin it right around, so if it was on the outside, and let's say now you're going to bed, you want to watch the TV, relax, you can flip it over, watch TV using the same TV, I guess. Pretty cool little feature they had there. And then you can flip it back around. But before travel, always making sure that you do have this latch down and locked in place. That way when you're traveling, it's not swinging around, breaking itself. Same thing does go for this door here. The door's got a travel strap, so you're going to want to make sure you strap it down when you are moving, because otherwise it's going to be sliding around back and forth. Probably going to break. Entertainment center, kind of went over it on the other side, flips right around. Then you got your stereo down below. It's pretty much just like home, minus the fact of your different zones. So you got A, which is going to be the back set of speakers. B, which is going to be your front bedroom speakers, which you can turn on and off if there's somebody sleeping in there. And then the C speakers are for your outside speakers. Storage all around. You got your kitchen area. Tons of space, tons of storage. Microwave, just like home, not much I'm going to show you there. One thing I forgot to go over outside quickly, which I'll do now. You got your range hood. I always recommend running this whenever you are running your stove, so that you're evacuating those propane fumes as you're burning them off. But before you do that, you do need to make sure that you take the range hood flap, open it up, make sure it's open nice and freely so you're evacuating those fumes. Now the reason you can lock it up and clip it into place is so that when you're traveling, you're not getting any excess dust inside the unit. In the slide out area, it's pretty self-explanatory. You've got your little dinette here, so in case you have extra people that doesn't fit the bunk space, you can fold the table down, set your back cushion to fill in the center. You can have yourself another bed, couch. All the lights in here are just kind of on their own center push buttons. And then in the kitchen area, so because this unit's equipped with propane, you got your LP detector right here near the ground. If this guy ever starts going off, don't panic. Just turn off the main supply of propane at the front of the unit. Open up some windows and vents, get some fresh oxygen inside of here. It's also very sensitive to cleaning chemicals, so if you ever were spraying a chemical around it, use your best judgment, but it could just be that. So I mentioned purging earlier, so the reason I'm bringing it up, whenever you turn your propane system off, and especially if you disconnect one of the bottles, it allows a lot of air into the system, and once the air makes its way out, of course it does have to be purged out. The quickest, easiest way to do that is just through your stove, because it doesn't have a lighting sequence. If the lighting sequence is you, if you go to fire up your fridge, water heater, or furnace, those will only try lighting themselves a couple times before they're going to throw a fault code at you. And if you don't know what the fault code means, it could throw a little wrench into your weekend, maybe some frustration. We do want to try to avoid that. So like I said, just when you first get to your campsite, if the propane system's been off, just making sure you do fire up the stoves first thing. Turning it over to the high/light option, hitting the igniter. Of course, it did fire up right away today because I had the system running earlier. Whenever you have the gas valve on, making sure you are hitting that igniter every 2 seconds. That way you don't get a buildup of gas and lose any eyebrows or eyelashes or get any burning. Again, another thing we do want to avoid. Now, the reason I'm telling you to be patient with it is because sometimes it can take a few minutes because there's a lot of line underneath there. So you want to make sure that you allow all that out. Typically the best way to do it is if you can hear the flow of air coming through, eventually propane is going to come out. And like I said, it's just very important that you're hitting that spark every few seconds. That way you don't get a buildup of gas. For lighting the stove, there's no igniter down there. You do have to use barbecue lighter. But you're just going to push that over to the pilot option, push and hold the knob in. Take your lighter. Hopefully mine works, it does. Take your lighter, stick it right underneath that gas orifice. Then you're gonna see we got that pilot lit. Now this stove does take exceptionally long, or the oven takes exceptionally long to purge too, because the gas orifice is so small. So sometimes you have to stand here for a few minutes, but just be patient with it. And once the pilot can hold its own without the button having to be pressed in, you can just turn it up to your desired temperature and it does fire right on up. Breaker converter, breaker panel right down below. Pushing that, flopping that guy open. All your breakers are down here. Whenever one pops, it's going to sit in the middle, so you do just have to turn it off and then back on again to reset it. All the corresponding fuses are on the left. You got your fridge, freezer combo. Again, just making sure whenever you're traveling, you latch them right up. Controls are all right here. So when you're on auto, it's going to first search for shore power. Once shore power is taken away, it'll automatically switch over to gas. If you do want it to solely run on gas because you're off boondocking, you can flip it over to that gas option and it'll automatically just light on gas. And if this, like it says, is flashing, it's because it hasn't received gas. So again, it could just be a purging issue. So you can always try it again, turn it off, give it about 30 seconds to a minute, and then try turning it back on to see if it relights. Temperature control right there. And then we got your thermostat on your wall here. This is going to control your furnace and your air conditioner. Your air conditioner runs off of shore power. The furnace does run off propane, and it only has one fan speed. Regardless, the air conditioner is going to be the one that has the different fan speeds. The furnace moves all its air through the floor portals we have throughout the unit. And the air conditioner moves itself through the ceiling ducting as well as these louvers here. So you can open up these guys and close them as you'd like. And then inside here, there is a little intake screen because this is where it draws its air. Sometimes it can get pretty dusty, so it's a good idea to take it down, give it a quick blowout with compressed air. That way you can keep that flow going real good. Whenever you're using your system, you're in the off, which is one from the right. Pushing it one to the left, you're gonna get fan. Now that's just moving air around using the air conditioner, no heating or cooling involved. And on the right, you're gonna see that there's an auto and then there's an on. It's the same thing, the only difference is when it's an auto, it becomes an on-demand system. So once the room reaches 65, which you have it set to, when it's on auto, it'll kick the air conditioner off, and once then it senses that it's back up to 70 or 75, it'll kick the air conditioner back on. If it's on, this is good. The fan is going to run full time regardless of what the room is set to. And then you got cool, so that's when the actual air conditioning takes into effect. And again, high, low, auto, same thing. And then heat, flicking over to the heat is going to kill the air conditioner, fire up the furnace. No matter what you set the fan to, the furnace is just going to run at one speed continuously until it turns itself off. And whenever it does turn itself, whenever you turn it off, it does run for usually about 3 minutes after, just to allow itself to cool down as an added safety feature. Going into the bathroom, light switch is on the left. Also, you got your fan control for up top here. Putting up that guy counterclockwise, hitting the button, starts drawing out air. Turn the fan off, close that down. You already have a max air cover on there, which is a great addition. You got storage all around, sink, shower. Really, the only thing you have to worry about is this GFI plug here. It's the main GFI plug, so if you ever have an outlet that doesn't work, this would be the first place I'd look, just making sure that it's not tripped. You got test down below, reset in the middle. Storage again all around, and then coming into the bunk space, turning that light on. Classic bunk space. Back here you got coax outlet as well as a couple plugins in case you want to plug in a TV. Right down here, you're gonna notice you got these couple trap doors. I left the mattress off there just for now, just so we can show you. If you take the first one off, it's a little secret storage spot. You take the second one off, it gives you access to your bypass valves for your water heater for winterization. We do currently have it summerized and ready for you to use. And the access to the water pump is just right underneath the kitchen sink. Pop that door open, right down below. Turn that valve, stick that into your pail of antifreeze, begin winterizing. That is going to be it for this unit here. If you have any other questions, feel free to give us a call.